If someone told you that the place you were paying thousands of dollars a month to live, the place that was supposed to take care of you, slowly started taking away the very services you were paying for, what would you do? Would you just keep paying? Would you stay quiet because moving feels hard? Or would you do something most people would never even consider? Because that's exactly the situation a 74-year-old woman named Lana Mountford found herself in. And what she did next? It might completely change the way you think about retirement, long-term care, and what it actually means to own your financial future. Here's the thing. We spend decades being told to save for retirement. Put money in your 401k. Don't touch it, let it grow. And sure, that advice isn't wrong. But nobody, and I mean nobody, is sitting you down and saying, hey, by the way, when you actually need care later in life, the system you're going to rely on is broken, expensive, and quietly designed to drain every single dollar you've saved. Nobody's having that conversation. And that's exactly why we need to have it today. Let's talk about what long-term care in America actually looks like right now. Hello, I'm Anne. Welcome to my channel. This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute legal, tax, or financial advice. Let's get right into it. The average cost of assisted living in the United States, according to Genworth's annual cost of care survey, we're looking at around $4,500 to $5,000 per month. That's the national average. In higher cost of living states, places like California, Washington, Massachusetts, you can kiss that number goodbye and start thinking closer to $6,000, $7,000, even $8,000 a month. And that's before the facility quietly starts tacking on extra fees for medications, laundry services, meals, transportation. Each one a line item, each one bleeding a little more out of your retirement account every single month. Now do the math with me. At $7,000 a month, you're looking at $84,000 a year. A year. For most Americans, that would wipe out a lifetime of savings in under a decade. And here's the kicker. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the average person who needs long-term care will need it for about 3 years. But roughly 20% of people will need it for more than 5 years. So we're talking potentially $420,000 or more. Just for care. Just for a place to live and have someone check on you twice a day. That's terrifying. And most people have absolutely no plan for it. Lana Mountford had a plan, though, and her story is one of the most honest and quietly inspiring things I've read in a long time. Lana is 74 years old. She lives in Bellingham, Washington, a city known for being one of the most retirement-friendly spots in the Pacific Northwest. She's been on her own since the mid-'80s. No kids, no one to lean on as a safety net. And yet, somehow, she's made smarter financial decisions than most people half her age. Here's a little background on Lana. She started saving for retirement in her 20s. No one told her to. She just figured it out. She worked as a civilian employee for the Department of Defense, specifically with the Army, before moving into the private sector and spending years in Silicon Valley doing IT work. She retired in 2003 to go back to school and earned her undergraduate degree in music. In music, at retirement age, because she wanted to. That tells you everything you need to know about who Lana is. She also traveled extensively after retirement, used a dedicated travel fund, money she had specifically set aside just for experiences. She was actually on a world cruise when the pandemic hit in 2020. Let that sink in. This woman had a travel fund separate from everything else. She was living intentionally, not just drifting. But life has a way of shifting the ground beneath you. Lana had dealt with some health challenges for years, including a non-malignant brain tumor that left some residual effects. And while she was on that cruise, things got serious. She started having trouble breathing. Doctors discovered blood clots in both lungs. These were life-threatening. And that's what eventually led her to start exploring assisted living options in 2021. Now look, when you hear assisted living, what comes to mind? Probably something like a safe, supportive community, staff who check in on you, meals if you want them, maybe some communal activities, a place where you can get help with the things that are hard while still maintaining some independence. That's the pitch. That's the brochure. And Lana, being the thoughtful person she is, went in with realistic expectations. She wasn't looking for luxury. She was looking for what she described as comfortable housing that would allow her to be relatively independent, while also acknowledging that some things were genuinely hard for her to do. She even had the foresight to look for a facility where she could, if needed, move from independent living to assisted living to memory care, all within the same building. She was thinking long-term. She was thinking smart. She found a facility 3 blocks from where she was already living. She moved into a small 1-bedroom apartment. The initial monthly cost? $4,300 a month. That's already a significant number, but fine. She'd planned for this. She had the savings. And at first, it seemed okay. She had 2 assigned caretakers who would pop in twice a day. They handled her laundry. Cable and Wi-Fi were included. She could order meals if she wanted. There was an emergency pull cord in her room. It wasn't perfect, but it was functional. Then, within just 3 months of moving in, 3 months, the rent went up to $4,650 a month. Then she needed major surgery. She developed kidney damage. She needed more space because she loved to cook and the 1-bedroom wasn't working. So she moved into a 2-bedroom apartment within the same facility. New price? About $5,500 a month. And here's where it gets really ugly. Slowly, quietly, the facility started pulling back services. Not all at once, not in a way that would cause an uproar, just gradually. First, the assigned caretakers for independent residents were removed. Then housekeeping dropped to 15 minutes a week. 15 minutes. She had to start doing her own laundry. She ended up hiring someone privately, out of pocket on top of the rent, to come in and help a few times a week. And then the rent jumped again to $6,850 a month. $6,850 a month for a place that had already stripped away most of the services she signed up for. You paying attention? Because this is the part nobody warns you about. It's not just that these facilities are expensive, it's that they are not static. The price goes up, the services go down, and you're stuck because moving is hard, and there aren't always a lot of great alternatives. Lana ran the numbers. She looked at her savings, and she made a decision. She was done. Now here's where most people would have just started looking at a cheaper assisted living facility, maybe moved to a different building, accepted the situation, and tried to negotiate. That would be the normal response. But Lana wasn't thinking like most people. A house on the same street where she was living came up for sale. 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1,350 square feet, 1-car garage. Part of a senior living development, so all the homes were built specifically with older residents in mind. Grab bars already installed. Everything on one level, no stairs to navigate. The whole neighborhood designed for people exactly like her. She put in an offer. After a few rounds of counteroffers, she bought it. In cash. For $580,000. Now I know what some of you are thinking. $580,000 in cash? I could never do that. And look, that's a fair reaction. Not everyone has that kind of liquidity. But here's the thing I need you to pay attention to, because this is the actual lesson. Lana made this decision with the help of her financial advisors, based on a clear-eyed comparison of the long-term costs. She wasn't being impulsive. She was being strategic. Think about it this way. She was paying $6,850 a month, and climbing, for a place where services were being stripped away. That's $82,200 a year, minimum. If she stayed another 5 years and the price continued to rise, which it would have, she'd have easily spent another $450,000 to $500,000. And she'd have nothing to show for it. No equity, no asset, just an empty bank account and a receipt. Instead, she bought an asset. A house that will likely hold its value or appreciate. A house she can pass on to her brother. A house she owns completely and outright, where no one can raise the rent on her, where no one can quietly remove her services, where she is in control. Let's look at her actual monthly costs now versus before. Her gas bill runs about $60 a month. Her electric bill ranges from $35 in winter to about $100 in summer. She uses Instacart for groceries so she doesn't have to drive, which she doesn't do anyway. Her HOA handles all the yard work. She did have to put $17,000 into a new roof, and yes, property taxes are a real expense. But even adding all of that up, she is spending a fraction of what she was paying at the assisted living facility. And for care? She has the same caretaker who helped her move. This woman comes 3 days a week, a total of 6 hours, and charges $35 an hour. That's $210 a week, roughly $840 to $900 a month, for personalized one-on-one care from someone she trusts and has an actual relationship with, not a rotating staff of strangers who pop in for 10 minutes and check a box. She plans to increase those hours as her health requires it. She's realistic about that. She has COPD, asthma, high blood pressure, chronic kidney disease, severe osteoarthritis. She uses a walker to get around. She knows dialysis may be in her future. She's not pretending everything is fine, but she has a plan. She has people she trusts, and she has a home that works for her body. And emotionally? Lana is a self-described textbook introvert. She didn't miss the social programming of the assisted living facility for 1 second. She has her books, her arts and crafts, her quiet, her kitchen where she can cook the way she likes. She told the people in her life with total certainty, "I'm going to die in this house." That might sound morbid, but honestly, I found it beautiful. Because what she's really saying is, I am not going to be pushed out. I am not going to be managed. I am not going to let a corporation with rising fees and shrinking services decide where and how I spend the rest of my life. I made a plan, I executed it, and this is my home. There is something deeply powerful about that. Now look, I'm not here to tell you that everyone should go buy a house with cash. That's not the point. Most people can't do that, and that's not the takeaway. The takeaway is this. You need to start thinking seriously right now about what long-term care is actually going to look like for you or for someone you love, because the system is not going to take care of you. The system is going to charge you more and more while delivering less and less. And if you don't have a plan, you're going to end up exactly where you didn't want to be. Here's what I want you to actually do with this. First, start having the conversation. Whether it's about your own future or a parent or a loved one, the worst thing you can do is wait until there's a crisis. Lana was lucky in some ways because her health declined gradually enough that she had time to make deliberate choices. Not everyone gets that window. Second, understand what long-term care insurance is and whether it makes sense for you. These policies are not cheap and they're not perfect, but for some people, they're a critical piece of the puzzle. Talk to a fee-only financial advisor, not someone who earns a commission on what they sell you, and get real numbers on the table. Third, if you're advising a parent or family member who is already in a facility, review their contract. Review the price history. Look at what services are actually being delivered versus what was promised. Ask the hard questions, because what happened to Lana, costs rising while services disappeared, is not unusual. It happens constantly, and families often don't notice until the savings are nearly gone. Fourth, think about housing as part of your retirement plan. Not just whether you'll rent or own in your 60s, but whether your home, if you own one, is set up for aging in place. Grab bars, single-level floor plan, wide doorways. These things matter more than you think, and retrofitting a home for accessibility is far cheaper than assisted living. Organizations like AARP have entire guides on this. Use them. And fifth, and this is maybe the most important thing, know who is in your corner. Lana has her caretaker. She has her brother nearby. She has financial advisors she trusts. She has her doctors who she's been able to keep through all of this. That network didn't happen by accident. She built it, maintained it, and leaned on it when she needed to. The retirement system in this country is not designed to protect you. The long-term care industry is not primarily motivated by your well-being. That sounds harsh, maybe, but it's the truth. These are businesses, and like any business, they are going to do what works for them first, which means you have to be the one advocating for yourself. You have to be the one who knows the numbers, asks the questions, and refuses to accept a situation that doesn't serve you. Lana Mountford is 74 years old, managing serious health challenges on her own, in a house she bought outright, on a street she chose, with a caregiver she trusts and a brother nearby. She built her financial habits in her 20s. She spent her career working hard and thinking ahead. She put money in a travel survival fund so she could live fully, not just survive. And when the system she was relying on started failing her, she didn't panic. She pulled out her calculator, talked to her financial people, and made a move. That's what financial literacy actually looks like in practice. Not just a savings account, not just a 401k, but an ongoing relationship with your money and your future. A willingness to question assumptions. A refusal to just accept whatever's handed to you. You can do this wherever you are right now. 20s, 30s, 50s, or staring down retirement. The time to think about this stuff is now. Not later, now. Because later has a way of arriving faster than any of us expect. If this hit home for you today, do me a favor. Share it with someone in your life who needs to hear it. A parent who's starting to think about care. A sibling who's avoiding the conversation. A friend who just figured they'd figure it out later. This stuff matters, and talking about it is the first step. I'll see you in the next one.